Good morning, children. Welcome back. I am Mrs. Sithara, your social science teacher. In today's session, we are going to do Unit 1 in Economics of Class 7, Production, Part 3. Come, children, let us see what is there for us. Before going into the session, let us have a recap of what we learned in the last two sessions. We discussed the general introduction, that is production. Production is a process of combining various material inputs and immaterial inputs in order to make something for consumption. It is the act of creating an output, a good or a service which has value and contributes to the utility of the individual. There are three types of production. They are the primary production, secondary and the tertiary. A primary production refers to the state of activity in which natural resources are directly used. Since agriculture is given prime importance, it is also referred as agricultural sector of production. The examples are agricultural, forestry, fishing, mining and oil extraction. The process of manufacturing products by using primary products as raw material is known as secondary level production. It is also known as industrial sector. Manufacturing of cars, clothing, chemicals, engineering and building, etc. are examples to secondary sector. Tertiary production is known as the services which are not visible rendered by teachers, doctors to the economy. Banking, insurance, education, health and defense are examples of service sector. We also learned about the factors of production. Factors of production are known as inputs of production which are transformed into output or products. There are two main divisions of factors of production. They are primary factors of production and derived factors of production or modern factors of production. The primary factors of production are land and labor. Land as a factor of production refers to all those natural resources or gifts of nature which is provided freely to man. It includes several things such as the surface of land, air, water, minerals, forests, rivers, lakes, seas, mountains, climate and weather. There are different characteristics of land. Land is a free gift of nature. Land is fixed in supply. Land is imperishable. Land is a primary factor of production. Land is immovable. Land has some original indestructible powers. Land differs in fertility. The next important factor, primary factor of production, is the labor. Labor is a human input into the production process. It is a use of body or mind, partially or wholly, with a view to secure an income apart from the pleasure derived from the work. There are certain characteristics of land. They are: labor is more perishable than other factors of production. Labor is an active factor of production. It is not homogeneous. Skill and dexterity vary from person to person. It cannot be separated from the laborer. And labor is mobile. Individual labor has limited bargaining power. He cannot fight with his employer for a rise in wages. When workers combine to form trade unions, the bargaining power of labor increases. We also learned about the concept of division of labor. It was introduced by Adam Smith in his book An Inquiry into the Nature and Causes of the Wealth of Nation. It means dividing the process of production into distinct and several component processes and assigning each component in the hands of a laborer or a set of laborers who are specialists in that particular process. There are some merits as well as demerits for the division of labor. The merits improves the efficiency of labor. It leads to the use of modern machinery in production. Time and raw material are used very efficiently. Whereas the demerits are repetition of the same tasks makes him feel the work is monotonous and stale. And narrow specialization reduces the possibility of a laborer to find alternative employment. Children, in this session, we will discuss about the secondary factors of production. Children, the factors of production are primary factors of production and secondary factors of production. The primary factors include land and labor. The secondary factors are capital and organization. The capital can be defined as a machinery, tools and buildings human use to produce goods and services. Maybe examples are hammers, forklifts, computers, vans, etc. Capital differs based on the worker and the type of work being done. For example, a doctor may use a stethoscope, while a teacher may use a textbook, desk, blackboard, or maybe online teaching. The income earned by owners of capital resource is the interest. The most successful organizations develop or find new ways to produce goods and services, and who develop new goods and services to bring to market. Without the organization which will combine the land, labor and capital in new ways, many of the inventions we see around us would not have existed. Think of Henry Ford or Bill Gates. Now we will learn about the capital. Capital is a man-made physical goods used to produce other goods and services. So what is capital? It is a man-made physical goods which is used to produce other goods and services. In ordinary language, we can say capital is money. In economics, capital refers to that part of man-made wealth which is used for further production of wealth. So if it is invested in something which will give you return, in return wealth, then only it becomes a capital. Money alone is not capital. If you invest the money in something, some good or some product, and we are able to get return from that, then it is called as capital. Children, so we can say all wealth is not capital, but all capital is wealth. Whatever, if I am investing in jewelry, then it is not going to give me any return. Then it is not capital, but it is an asset. According to Marshall, Alfred Marshall, people, was a British economist, and he was one of the most influential economists of his times. His book Principles of Economics was a dominant economic textbook in England for many years. In his book Principles of Economics, Marshall defines capital. Capital consists of those kind of wealth other than free gifts of nature which yield income. Marshall says that capital is all those kinds of wealth other than the free gifts of nature which is going to give you income. Now children, we will learn about the forms of capital. There are three different forms of capital. They are physical capital or material resource, money capital or monetary resource, human capital or human resource. Physical, money, human. Material, monetary or human resource. The first one is physical capital or material resource. Example for that is machinery, tools, buildings, etc. that you purchase for your organization. That contributes to the physical capital or the material capital. Next one is the money capital or monetary resource. M-O-N-E-T-A-R-Y, monetary. For example, you can say bank deposits, shares and securities which you invest. You pay money and get it, the shares and securities. That comes under money capital or monetary resource. The third type is human capital or human resource. That is the investments you make in your education, to train yourself, in your health. All these things come under the human resource or human capital. Children, there are some characteristics of capital. Capital is a passive factor of production. That is, capital cannot produce without the help of the active services of labor. To produce with machines, labor is required. So labor is an active, whereas capital is a passive factor of production. Capital on its own cannot produce anything until a labor works on it. The next important characteristics is it is man-made. Capital is man-made. That is, capital is that wealth which is used in the production of goods. Capital is the result of human labor. Even every type of capital such as roads, machines, buildings, factories are produced by man. It is a produced factor of production. The next factor is capital is not an indispensable factor of production. Production can be possible even without capital. So it is an indispensable factor of production. Capital has highest mobility. All the other factors of production, capital is the most mobile. Land is perfectly immobile. Labor and entrepreneur also lack mobility. Capital can be easily transported from one place to another. So it is having highest mobility. The next one is capital is more flexible. The supply of capital can be increased or decreased. If the people in a country produce more or save more from their income, and these savings are invested in factories or capital goods, it increases the supply of capital. Capital is productive. It can be used to produce more things from that. Capital lasts long. Once a machinery is brought or a building is set up, it will last longer than any other factor of the production. Capital involves present sacrifices to get future benefits. You have to sacrifice in the present to benefit in the future. You have to forego the benefits now so that you will be more benefited in the future. Now we will learn the next important factor of production, the entrepreneur or organization. Learn the spelling entrepreneur. E-N-T-R-E-P-R-E-N-E-U-R. Entrepreneur. An entrepreneur is a person who combines the different factors of production like land, labor and capital in the right proportion and initiates the process of production and also bears the risk involved in it. So he is a person who will combine the land, labor and capital in the correct proportion so that production can be initiated, and he is the one who will bear all the risk that are involved in it. So definitely he has to reap the benefits also from it. An entrepreneur is also called an organizer. He is also called as an organizer. O-R-G-A-N-I-Z-E-R. In the modern times, an entrepreneur is called the changing agent of the society. He is also called as a changing agent of the society. He is not only responsible for producing the socially desirable output, but also to increase the social welfare. Some of the successful entrepreneurs from India are given in the picture. You can find Ratan Tata, then Ritesh Agarwal, and Dhirubhai Ambani, Narayana Murthy, Indu Jain, Indra Nooyi, Aditi Gupta and Ekta Kapoor in the picture. Now we will see the characteristics of an entrepreneur. He has to identifying profitable investable opportunities. He should be able to identify opportunities where he can invest in a profitable manner. So that is an important characteristics of an entrepreneur. Deciding the location of the production unit. He is the one who decides the location of the production unit where the land, capital and labor are the cheapest one, and where he can get the subsidy for his investment. It has to be identified, and it is the entrepreneur who identifies this, and he is the one who makes innovations, the new ideas or new things into practice. Deciding the reward, that is a payment, what has to be the pay for the entrepreneur, what are the laborers, it is the duty of the entrepreneur to decide it. And he is the one who takes risks, and he is the one who will face the uncertainties. You are starting a new business, definitely there is a risk factor and there is a lot of uncertainties, and it is the person who is starting the business who will be taking up the maximum risk, and therefore he is the one who should be maximum rewarded. Now we will see the characteristics of an entrepreneur. He has to identifying profitable, investable opportunities. He should be able to identify opportunities where he can invest in a profitable manner. So that is an important characteristics of an entrepreneur. Deciding the location of the production unit. He is the one who decides the location of the production unit, where the land, capital and labor are the cheapest one, and where he can get the subsidy for his investment. It has to be identified, and it is the entrepreneur who identifies this. And he is the one who makes innovations, the new ideas or new things into practice. Deciding the reward, that is a payment, what has to be the pay for the entrepreneur, what are the laborers. It is the duty of the entrepreneur to decide it. And he is the one who takes risks, and he is the one who will face the uncertainties. You are starting a new business, definitely there is a risk factor and there is a lot of uncertainties, and it is the person who is starting the business who will be taking up the maximum risk, and therefore he is the one who should be maximum rewarded. Before we wind up, let us have a summary of the unit. Children, production is a process of combining various material inputs and immaterial inputs in order to make something for consumption. Utility means satisfying power of a product. Utilities are classified according to their nature as form utility, time utility, place utility. If the physical form of a commodity is changed, its utility may increase. That is the meaning of form utility. The demand and use of cotton increases if it is converted into clothes. If the commodity is transported from one place to another, its utility may increase. That is place utility. If the commodity is stored for a future use, its utility may increase. That is the time utility. There are three types of production, that is primary, secondary and tertiary or service production. Primary production is one in which the natural resources are directly used, like agriculture. Secondary production is the process of manufacturing products by using primary products as raw material. Tertiary production is the services, like the services rendered by teachers, doctors, defense, etc. The factors of production are land, labor, capital, and organization. The concept of division of labor was introduced by the father of economics, Adam Smith, in his book An Inquiry into the Nature and Causes of the Wealth of Nations. An entrepreneur is a person who combines the different factors of production like land, labor, and capital. Now let us see the glossary of the unit. Production is manufacture. Production, manufacture. Utility, usefulness. Utility is usefulness. Organization is a firm. Entrepreneur is a businessman. Factors are the components. Division is dividing, segregating. Resources are the assets. Before we wind up, let us have the recap of this unit. In this unit, we discussed about the general introduction and meaning of production. We learned that production is a process of changing the raw material into finished product. It is a process of combining various material inputs and immaterial inputs in order to make something for the consumption. We learned the types of production, primary, secondary, and tertiary. We also learned the factors of production. The primary factors of production are land and labor, and the secondary factors are capital and entrepreneur or organization. The primary factors are land. We also learned about the characteristics of land. The human input that we put into the production process is called as a labor. We also learned about the characteristics of labor. It is more perishable, it is an active factor, it is not homogeneous, labor cannot be separated from the laborer, labor is mobile. We also learned the concept of division of labor. It was introduced by the father of economics, Adam Smith, in his book An Inquiry into the Nature and Causes of the Wealth of Nations. Division of labor means dividing the process of production into distinct and several components and assigning each component in the hands of a laborer or a set of laborers who are specialists in that particular process. We learned about the secondary factors of production like the capital. Capital is a man-made physical goods used to produce other goods and services. All wealth is not capital, but all capital is wealth. There are three forms of capital. There are physical capital or material resources like machinery, tools, buildings. Money capital or monetary resource like bank deposits, shares, securities, debentures, etc. And human capital or human resource like investment in education, training and health. We also learned an entrepreneur is a person who combines the different factors of production like land, labor and capital in the right proportion and initiates the process of production and also bears the risks involved in it. He is called the changing agent of the society. We also learned the characteristics of an entrepreneur. He is able to identify profitable, investable opportunities, deciding the location of production, making innovations, and deciding the payment, taking risks, and facing uncertainties. Children, with that we conclude today's session. In the next session, we will discuss the evaluation part. Before we wind up, let us see the worksheet. Worksheet for this session. Roman number 1, choose the correct answer. First question. The entrepreneur is also called dash. Exchanger, agent, organizer, communicator. Roman number 2, fill in the blanks. Dash is a human input into the production process. Dash is a human input into the production process. Second question. Dash is a man-made physical goods used to produce other goods and services. Dash is a man-made physical goods used to produce other goods and services. Roman number 3. Give short answers. Question number 1. Write the forms of capital. Write the forms of capital. Question number 2. Write the 3 characteristics of entrepreneur. Write the 3 characteristics of entrepreneur. Roman number 4. Give brief answers. Question number 1. Describe the characteristics of capital. Describe the characteristics of capital. Children, you copy this in your rough note, learn these very well and write home test. After completing, take a snap of it and send it to my personal WhatsApp number. That's all for today's class, my dear children. Thank you for watching. Take care. Stay blessed.